What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Brian, and I'm here to talk about a very powerful quote from the BoJack Horseman show that BoJack Horseman that kind of like made me really think. But before I get into that, I just want to ask if you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to subscribe. This is a thought channel. We talk about things, everything from what makes social media or can make your social media grow to just analyzing shows and thoughts. I just like to think about things, and together we can start a discussion. So the quote comes from Bojack stumbles upon a wedding engagement party, or no, I'm sorry, a rehearsal dinner. And he gets up and he flippantly gives a speech, and it's not a bad speech. It's not that serious. It's pretty funny, but it causes one of the brides, to reflect and actually question her marriage, and she ends up calling off the marriage. And so Bojack, in an attempt to talk her off the ledge, gives her this speech, and the speech contains the quote. The speech is, stop listening, and nobody's really happy, so on and so forth. She asked him, should I just settle? And he's like, yes, people need to settle because true love is not real. And if you can find someone that you can tolerate for more than an hour or something like that, you need to hold on, because if you don't, then you'll just get older and more lonely. And you'll try to fill the hole that's inside you with people, meaningless sex, and all kinds of things, but none of it'll work. And then you'll realize that everybody that's around you loves you, but nobody likes you. And I remember when I heard that the first time, I might have stopped the video and just been like, wow, that is just such a powerful quote. And I'm going to focus on the end of it, that everybody loves you, but nobody really likes you. And I think it's interesting because Bojack, they make fun of a lot of the ridiculousness of Hollywood and LA life, but they also kind of expose some of the parts of LA life that most people don't really think about. It's just so superficial. I know that it was one of the reasons why I chose not to move out there. And the idea and the concept of love versus loving something versus liking something. And I talk to people all the time, and I say that, a lot of people confuse the two. And I'm not in a position right now to say which one's more important. I think that love is deeper, but can be can feel like an obligation. I love people in my family that I don't necessarily like. And so I wonder if that's what he was alluding to, or if he was kind of jokingly tossing off the word love. Like, everyone loves a winner, but you don't really love them. Like, you love them like the way you love a milkshake, or you love really good Chinese food or something along those lines. You don't really love that, And so in that quote, it would seem that like he's putting an emphasis, or he's lifting up liking someone over loving them. And it's just interesting to me to think about having people who love you but don't like you. And I think as an actor, I don't know if this really applies to all of us. I think it applies definitely to actors and anybody who's famous. But I do think that this is a space that a lot of people feel that they're in. I've struggled. I think the reason why this quote resonated with me so much is that I've struggled with the idea that, do people like me, and is it even important? Everyone, like, so I'm from Orlando, but I live in New York, and every time I go home, everyone's really nice to me. Everyone's happy to see me, and everyone loves it when Brian's home. But sometimes I feel like it's like the quote he says, everyone loves you, but does anyone really like you? And that's really just about personal insecurity, and not really living out the 4 agreements. There's no way to know if someone likes you or loves you or any of that unless you talk to them and they tell you explicitly. And so, I think some of that is self-inflicted. Really, like, when I came to New York, I really struggled with assumptions. I was assuming that certain people were certain ways and they felt certain ways about me without asking them or having them say anything to me directly. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm a huge proponent. Like, I tell people to read a couple books. I don't recommend a lot of books because I don't read a lot of books. I read a good amount, but I wouldn't consider myself to be someone who reads a lot. But there's a couple books that I recommend to everybody. The Alchemist, Lynchpin, and Tribes by Seth Godin, and The 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements probably is, if I could only recommend one, I would say The 4 Agreements, because so many people are living in self-inflicted hell, and the reason why is they're assuming. And so, perception is reality. If you feel like no one likes you, then that's what it is. And I think if we're going to get to the heart of what he's saying that everyone loves you, but nobody knows you. It's a disconnect. They love the idea of you. And I think this also applies to myself. It can apply to yourself. Something that I realized really fast into working on my just kind of continuing to build myself and rebranding myself and repositioning myself in my new career, or in the new way that I wanted to work and wanted to create. I realized that I wasn't doing it exactly right. I was hedging. I talked about this before. And I was setting myself up to be somebody that I wouldn't love or I wouldn't like. If I was successful, of course I would have loved the life that I would have got, and the money, and the ability to kind of do things, but then I would have been trapped by the person I created. So everyone would love it. I would love my life, but I wouldn't like myself. I think there's some of that in there too, in that quote. There's just so much to unpack and so much to think about with that quote. And then it also talks about, and it deals with the idea of true love, and is that even a real thing? And when you start thinking about that, then you can get back into the whole idea of, well, what's more important? Is it more important to like somebody, or is it more important to love them? Can you do one without the other? I think that in America especially, or let's say Western culture, the emphasis has been placed on liking somebody or something. You're there as long as you like it, as long as it feels good, as long as it's fun. But when it loses its fun and its feel-goodness, you're out. We're out. We are not there to work. And I think that that's where love is. So it's kind of funny, I would almost think that everyone likes you, but no one loves you would be the quote. But everyone loves you and nobody likes you is more of the way he's thinking of it, and it's more perfectly aligned with his perception. Everything in his life is, he has all these people that are around him and they want something from him, but nobody really seems to like him. And every time he seems to be likable, he does something that's just deplorable. And you understand why nobody likes him. But then you root for somebody to connect with him. Somebody to understand him. Just when you think you understand him, he does something that shows that you have no idea just how far he can go. But isn't that true with all of us? Aren't we all just Bojack if left to our own devices? We all like to think that we're not, that we're better than him, and that we would never allow ourselves to be like that. But who knows? You know, have a 20-year or some odd run of being a multi-millionaire on top of the world, and then see. You know, one of the reasons why I stopped working on the cruise ship is because I realized very quickly that in a world, in a environment with almost no limitations to what I could do, I could quickly turn into somebody that I wouldn't like. So it's interesting. I don't know. Again, I think that love is important if you want your relationship to last, because love will be there when liking is gone. If you just do things based off when you like it, but I wouldn't want anyone to just love me and not like me, because then that feels like prison, right? That doesn't feel like a good thing. But, the reality of life is that you're not going to like people every day. You're not going to like people all the time. That's just reality. People grow and they change, and they're putting in work, and they're trying to build things, and they're focused on things, and their focus shifts. I think ideally you want both. I want someone to love me and like me. But if I had to choose, I think love is more important, because love will stay longer. If somebody loves me, they're going to be willing to work with me through times that are not fun and exciting. So these are my thoughts, my random thoughts. But I thought that quote was just so amazing and just so thought-provoking. And hopefully you felt the same way. And if you enjoyed this, please share it with your friends and family. And also let me know what you think in the comments. I would love to have a discussion about this, because it's just an interesting thought. The whole concept and the whole idea of love versus liking, and loving being greater than liking, or vice versa. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and have a great day.